We need to keep it real on Justin Fields. We need to sit down and have a true discussion about him. He was just traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a conditional 6th-round pick. Not just that, but he sat on the market as the Bears tried to work trades and nothing was getting done. Other quarterbacks were getting signed for better compensation than what the Bears received for Justin Fields. And that shouldn't be everything there, but the market says a lot here. He was sitting there, and we were waiting for the trade to get done. We were waiting for him to be on the move. Felt like forever. He went to Pittsburgh. Before that, Russell Wilson signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it looks like we might get a quarterback battle between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Or they may just proclaim Russell Wilson the outright starter and Fields the backup, which is heavily concerning if they go that route, considering a lot of people were thinking of him as an up-and-coming quarterback, one of the better quarterbacks in the league, one of the quarterbacks who had the most potential, but hasn't really tapped into it just yet. And really, when you look at the stats here, he's only has 6,674 yards to his name in 3 seasons. His best season, really, a yardage standpoint, was last year in 2023, 2,562 yards. He has 40 passing touchdowns to his name, 10 total wins on his career. And we just keep seeing the highlights. We see him take off with the ball. We see the upside there. And he has not been able to tap into it. A 60.3 completion rate on his career. And things have not been looking great. Part of that is the offensive around him. They got him DJ Moore last year. Outside of that, no real receiving threat. Offensive line was not the greatest. 135 sacks on his career, 44 last year, 55 the year prior. He has given up 908 yards on sacks. 12.4% of the time when he drops back, he gets sacked. And that's partly on him and the offensive line. So it is a joint cause there. Also, he only has 6 games on his career with more than 250 passing yards. Only 1 game on his career with more than 300 passing yards. Only 8 games on his career where he had 2 or more touchdown passes. 2 of those games went to 4, 1 game for 3. The rest of those 8 games were just 2. That being said, when we look at him at the passing game, still leaving more to be desired. Not the greatest by far, not the worst, could be worse, but still, considering the context of the offense, it could be worse. Because we had DJ Moore there, we've had some upside, but really the Bears didn't have any weapons for him to lean on to. He had to get it done himself. The offensive line was a problem, it was an issue. He had 8 games where he had 5+ sacks, and in those games the Bears were 1-7. His worst game he saw 9 sacks, second worst was 7. He had 3 games on top of that where he saw 6 sacks. That's a lot of games where he's just getting wrecked behind the line of scrimmage. That's Justin Fields' career with the Chicago Bears. And you think the timing, being back there under center, just stepping back there to really read the defense, and you're getting sacked so much, you can't trust the offensive line. That puts you into shambles. That makes it hard for you to develop. That makes it hard for you to step up your game. Is he broken because of this? Is he repairable? That's the big question here. Can he step it up in Pittsburgh? It's not a if I think so or if you think so type of deal. It is or it's not. It could not be fixable here with Justin Fields. He could be broken from his tenure with the Chicago Bears. This is a prospect that we saw here with a lot of upside. We saw him sling the rock around. We saw him take off. One of the best rushing quarterbacks in the league. Has a little bit of Mike Vick in him, but I would not make that comparison. I think that would be too drastic. In 2023, he saw 44 sacks. Remember, 26 of those were the offensive line's fault, averaging 6.65 yards per sack. And that is the result of the offensive line on those 26 sacks. 61.95% of those sacks was the fault of the offensive line. But 16 sacks, 38%, were the fault of Justin Fields. Him just taking too long to read the coverages. His inability on some of these plays to read the coverage. Just getting sacked behind the lines, averaging 6.18 yards per sack. Half a yard less than sacks caused by the offensive line, but still, that's a hefty rate considering the offensive line, no matter who you're playing behind, is going to allow sacks. So if they allow 16 sacks, you're still getting sacked 32 times on the season. If they match your rate, that's still a lot. That's a lot of sacks he's giving up. That is very concerning. But the thing is, we're going to Pittsburgh. We're going to a different team. They are in a retooling process. They got rid of Deontay Johnson. They're trying to figure out the quarterback position. It's between him and Russell Wilson, but we got some running backs there with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. George Pickens is a dog, and I bet you they take a swing at the fence at wide receiver in the NFL draft. They'll probably pick up a couple wide receivers. This is a very stacked wide receiver class. Getting him some weapons could be an upgrade over Deontay Johnson, maybe even 2 upgrades, because that's how deep this wide receiver class is. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, that duo is pretty good, although not considered the best duo in the league. We do got some upside there. They're very dependable. Arthur Smith is going to make things interesting, and I think that's the easiest way to describe that, considering what we saw at Atlanta. But still, seeing Fields under center under Arthur Smith with this offense could be a breath of fresh air, or it could be a broken quarterback. He could be broken, he could be done, and no new situation could make it better. No new team, no new offense. Maybe if he had a bona fide stud wide receiver like a Justin Jefferson or a Jamar Chase, but that's never going to happen. You got George Pickens, that's great. You got some good tight end prospects there. You're going to get some more wide receivers. You also got to beat out Russell Wilson. And if Russell Wilson comes out on point, we might be just waiting for Justin Fields to get his opportunity. What if this team drafts another quarterback? Because they're not married to any of these 2 quarterbacks. What if they really want to kick the bucket and see what happens, and that's more competition? What would that say? The thing about Justin Fields is he was on the market. The NFL wasn't willing to pay up. Not one NFL team was willing to throw draft capital at him and say, hey, we want to make him the starter. Not the Falcons, not the Vikings, not the Raiders. Many other teams, nobody wanted to pay a lot of draft capital to have him as a backup. He got the Trey Lance treatment pretty much. We waited for him on the market. We were waiting. It was like a Justin Fields watch. And it just didn't happen. It didn't work out. So he could be beyond repair, and the NFL thinks that, and they don't want to develop him. And it's not a developmental league. It's what can you do now? We might make you a little bit better, but you're on your own type of deal. And they feel like under those circumstances, Justin Fields might not step it up, more than likely won't, and they're not willing to bet on that, and that's what the NFL just said. Us as fans who like Justin Fields need to realize that. As an Ohio State Buckeye fan, that game against Michigan in 2019 where he got hurt, came off the field, missed a play, came back, I thought his season was done, maybe even partially his career, because that looked devastating. Comes back halfway hobbling, rolls out, throws a touchdown strike downfield, probably one of the greatest throws of his career. And that was possibly one of the greatest plays I've ever seen as an Ohio State fan. And it was made by Justin Fields. So I got some bias towards the kid. On top of Justin Fields, when looking back at his tenure at Ohio State, he was lights out, but he had a few games where there was a ruckus involved, where he was not hitting at all cylinders. I think to that Northwestern game where he got locked down. Go back and check the tape to that matchup. It was not looking good. He just had a few clues to where in his game he would not fire at all cylinders. And maybe that's what we're seeing here at the NFL level. But one thing I can say about Justin Fields is he's got a lot of promise. He's got a lot of poise. He's got a lot of upside. He's got a ton of talent. And if he can get right, we're looking at one of the better quarterbacks in the league. He's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league, but not everybody, not every player, not every quarterback can tap into that talent. The time is ticking, and he's got to do it soon, or the Steelers are going to move on. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next video.